No, I'm here.
Okay.
You.
Hi, Julie.
Hi, Jeff. How are you?
For Linda, it's 4:02, and I'll call this special meeting to order. Let's stand and do the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Very good. 1.2, the agenda. Are there any changes to the agenda? If not, is there a motion?
I move we accept the agenda as posted.
And
Okay,
I'll second that.
all right. It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Bianca,
Aye.
Melissa,
Hi.
Rosemary,
Aye.
Jeff,
Aye.
and I also approve. Motion carries. The agenda is adopted as posted. The consent agenda, there are no items. Item 3, the public comments, still pertains. Comments by the public. Under this item, the public is invited to address the board regarding. This is weird. I'm getting feedback.
Rosemary, we're hearing when Jerry talks, we hear it through your computer also. Maybe if you just stay muted until you want to talk. Sorry. Hope that doesn't sound rude. We don't want to mute you, Rosemary, but.
Rosemary.
Okay. Is that the technical issue? Okay. Under this item, the public is invited to address the board regarding items that are not on today's agenda. Please keep your comments concise, brief, and limited to 3 minutes. The board is not allowed under the law to take action on matters that are not on the agenda. Should comments from the public pertain to a charge or complaint against an employee of Northern United Humboldt Charter School or Northern United Siskiyou Charter School, the board encourages the speaker to utilize the school's written complaint procedures to pursue the matter. The public will have an opportunity to comment on all agenda items as those are heard today. Are there any comments? All right, hearing none. The item 4, action items to be considered. 4.1, approval of employer contribution toward health benefits. After all, this is the main focal point and reason for this special board meeting. So Sherry or Tammy, want to take it away?
I'll just do a little intro here first. So in your background information, I just kind of talked about the fact that this is a topic that we've been looking at discussing for quite a few months now. And really, I have taken away from the board's desire to increase the employer contribution toward health and welfare benefits. Currently, we contribute $12,368 annually toward full-time employees, and then it's prorated if for the FTE. And that is a little under what the Humboldt County average is. And insurance has been going up every year. So I think that's maybe why, we've talked about this quite a bit this year. I think that we, in the past, have looked at this in a number of different ways. You guys know, like last board meeting, we had a spreadsheet where we kept changing different contribution amounts for the different tiers to see how that looked. After our last board meeting, we kind of walked away, we meaning staff like Tammy and Linda and I kind of walked away feeling like that it was the board's desire to cover the cost of health and welfare to the extent that we could afford it. I felt like it seemed like covering health and welfare for staff really rose to a top level of importance within our financial capabilities. So instead of looking at it in the way we did last month, which was, trying to kind of figure out the exact correct amounts for each tier or something like that, we kind of scrapped that and thought, okay, how much would it cost if we paid for everybody for oak? How much would it cost if we paid for everybody for spruce? And kind of worked our way down to see what would be, what could we actually do financially? What would keep us so that our ending reserve is above that 10%? And what would keep us from deficit spending? So in other words, so we're not living beyond our yearly means and eating into our ending balance. So we started with oak and we looked to see what the cost for that was. And in the background sheet, you saw that for Humboldt, the cost to cover everybody for oak was $807,524, which was approximately $251,000 more than we pay in insurance now. It lowers our ending balance to where we're sitting at 22.09%. So we hit that mark of still being above 10%. But unfortunately, that made it so that we were actually deficit spending. So our expenditures were above our annual revenue. So to be able to cover that cost, we were eating into our ending balance. So that wouldn't be very sustainable because after a few years, we would have eaten down that ending balance to beyond that 10%. And the same goes for Siskiyou. Doing oak, paying for everybody for oak in Siskiyou cost $161,532, an increase of $25,484 over what we're doing now. The ending balance is 12.52%. Again, we're above that 10%, but it is deficit spending. So then we did the same thing for spruce, which is the next plan down. And I should have said that oak is the kind of the richest plan, the top tiered one, and then spruce is the next one. So that's why we kind of went in that order. So then we did spruce and did that same process. Spruce actually allows us to maintain our percentage revenue, our percentage for the ending balance that we need, and keeps us from deficit spending. So we are still in the black on an annual basis. We don't spend more revenue than we're getting on any one year. So we're maintaining that ending balance. So when we saw that, we thought that we would propose that and so that is my recommendation to do what I'm calling here as option 2, which is covering the spruce plan fully for all full-time employees and then prorated for whatever somebody's partial FTE is. If anybody wanted a plan that was the higher plan, oak, they could pay the difference for that. The difference between what it costs for us to pay for them for spruce and what the premium is for oak. Let's see, what else do I want to say? I think that
includes the families, right? Includes the employees and their families?
Yeah, it's regardless of the tier. It's regardless of the tier. This is for all tiers. So I think I'll stop there and then open it up to questions. And Tammy and Linda, please feel free to jump in on any of these, to answer any of the questions, because the three of us really worked on this together for sure.
Thank you. Do any of my colleagues have questions, comments?
I do.
Go ahead, Bianca.
The numbers that we have before us, that the total cost is based on the folks who are currently, Or if all employees were to join the Spruce.
Currently, those who are currently on insurance. And just so you know, the way our insurance works is if you're full-time, you have no choice. You have to be on the insurance. There's not an option. And if you're 0.5 or more FTE, so you work 50% or more, you have the option of being in the healthcare, of getting our insurance, but you don't have to.
Okay, so then this is for all full-time employees, and it is also considering those who are enrolled with families and those who are enrolled with spouse.
Yes, this is just to clarify, this is for all full-time employees and those who already get our insurance who are less than full-time. So some people, like say they're a 0.75 and they do choose to get our insurance. Those are included in this as well.
Okay. So then the only variable would be is if there are part-time employees who currently do not, and then they choose to.
Correct.
Okay.
And in that case, we would pay the portion of their FTE and then the remainder is paid for by them. And that's how it works now too. So now, like if you're 75%, the school pays for 75% of the 12,368, and you pay the difference of whatever the cost is,
Okay.
plus your FTE portion that you don't get covered.
Okay. And then with this new approach that y'all took, which I appreciate, by the way, I think that was a good read on the way that at least I was feeling coming out of the meeting.
Okay, good, because we had a big debate about that. How did they feel overall? What was the underlying message? I wasn't sure. So we had some debate on that.
Yeah, definitely for me, it was how much can we spend?
Yeah, right.
Were any of the staff and teachers, what's the word I'm looking for?
Consulted?
Yes, thank you.
I'm trying to think if we did talk to anybody. Tammy and Linda, can you think of anybody? Kirk, I know I talked to Kirk. I don't know if we talked to anybody else about it. And I have to tell you kind of my main reason, though this is totally an assumption, is this is so much better than anything they've gotten for so many years that I just can't imagine somebody saying, no, I don't want my insurance paid for. So, but like I said, that's totally an assumption because I don't recall talking to anybody other than those of us who were working on it, Kirk, Tammy, Linda. I know I talked with Julie about it, but I don't know that I talked to any teachers about it.
Okay.
I did a little bit.
Okay.
And there might be some, like one teacher in particular now who just is only, insuring themselves and no one else in the family because, other situations, but might choose to insure the whole family then if this were to come about. And even a couple of people that are in the 0.75 range as far as FTE that aren't currently getting insurance that might definitely be interested. So,
yeah.
But it's a good thing, I think, to do. So
Okay.
it's certainly way better than what schools around here in Siskiyou County are offering. We'd probably jump right to the top of the county in terms of what we cover for health benefits,
Well,
which would be a good selling point.
Just a little anecdote, because our JPA has changed the way they're doing the structure. All of the schools in Siskiyou County prior to this had already sent letters into our JPA saying they were withdrawing. They weren't going to get their insurance through us anymore because of the cost. They have since come back and asked if they could rejoin.
Anything further, Bianca?
That's it at this time. Thank you, Chair.
All right. Anyone else? Melissa?
Well, I like that it looks like if we covered the Spruce plan, we might save a little bit of money. And also, I liked the point that with paying for the Oak plan, it being unsustainable, especially because if more people do choose to level up to family, then these numbers would be a lot higher. And and I did like one small math problem to see the price of an employee paying for oak with family when we pay the price for spruce, and it's only like $400 a month for a 10-month employee, and that seems really reasonable to me. So
Which is less than what they're paying for oak now.
Right, right. And Melissa, just to be clear, covering spruce for everybody doesn't save us money in terms of what we're spending right now. It's going to be more expensive than what we're doing now, but it saves over if we covered everybody under oak.
right.
And
So-
then one other thing I wanted to point out is, I think I mentioned this last month, is right for this upcoming year, vision and dental are essentially free to us. The JPA is taking on that cost. So the next year, when we have to pay for those premiums again, we'll have to come back and look at, is that something, can the school pick up that cost so that employees aren't having to do that out of pocket? Or not, but we'll have to look at that next year. And my thought is, if we did oak now, for sure, we wouldn't be able to pick up vision and dental next year. So, that's something else to just kind of keep in mind, is the following year, there will be another cost, the vision and dental.
Could you explain to me the decrease in 9976 for option 2 in Humboldt and Siskiyou, it looks like? Could you explain that?
You're muted.
Sorry, I was muted and just talking. It's just Siskiyou that has the decrease, not Humboldt. But in Siskiyou, if we are paying for everybody for spruce, we will actually be paying less than we are right now. So you're right. Thank you for clarifying that. It is only Humboldt that is paying more by doing this. You're right. Siskiyou does save money by doing this versus what we're doing now, because there is a decrease of 9,976. And it's because the 12,368 that we pay for every employee now is actually more than what spruce costs. So for employee only next year, the cost of spruce is only 7,812. So that's, a pretty big saving for the employee only category for that tier. So that's why it decreases. But that could change. Like Kirk said, people might change their plan now. They may change their tier. They wouldn't change their plan necessarily, but they would change their tier. So it is, and some people might come on insurance that aren't now. So this is really just an assumption of what it would be. Again, another reason really not to go for oak until we know the true cost. That's something that I was thinking of. And this whole thing is in a flux. The JPA switching from these composite plans that they've had to this tiered rate structure is brand new. Keep in mind, we're going to the tiered now, but we didn't have to. Some districts are staying with composite until the next cycle time, and then everybody has to go through tier. So it's still a little unknown what's going to happen to the rates with the JPA, with the insurance, the following year once everybody gets to tiered. I have a feeling we're probably going to be looking at what our contribution is every year for a few years until things kind of normalize or settle down and we kind of get into a pattern of what this tiered structure looks like.
Thank you. Jeff, do you have any questions or comments?
No, I'm just kind of still trying to absorb the numbers, forecasting, kind of everything that kind of goes with this. So feeling a lot more comfortable, kind of, I guess, having something black and white in front of me, something to work with. And you did read everything right, Sherry. I think, not giving away the farm, but it's nice that, for a couple of years now, staff and, the employees have been taking kind of a lump. Not that they're not alone in that, but if we can, I want that. I want that for our employees. And, Kirk mentioned it, maybe it's a drawing card for other people, to kind of take a look at our school district. So yeah, I'm happy with being presented.
Thanks, Jeff. Rosemary?
There, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes, thank you. I'll go back and mute myself here in a minute. The one thing that comes to mind is we don't want to ever deficit spend. It sends a red flag, and we just don't want to go down that path unless we absolutely have to. And as Jeff said, black and white, here it is. And you guys did a great job. I think that at the end of the day, I think it's a win for the employees as well as the district as a whole.
Thank you, Rosemary. I agree with the previous comments. You know, the bottom line feeling was that we needed to contribute as much towards the best healthcare plan that we can, yet staying within a reasonable cushion for the reserve. I mean, it's, you know, it is what it is. It's, you know, we're going to do the best that we can. You know, there might be a few select individuals that depend upon their plan and the plan type, that it still may not be enough. You know, and my worry is that some of our really good staff members may be drawn elsewhere because the healthcare is much better. You know, you never know, but that possibility exists, and that's really too bad. But it is a step in the right direction, and as Sherry said, that we've made, the board districts made the decision to go with the tiered plan right now instead of waiting a year and then undoing it. So it's they've done the best that they can with what they have to work with, and so we just hope for the best, and we'll be able to see true costs and all of that, as Sherry said, moving forward. So we definitely can't adopt one of the options that is in time is going to put us in the red. You know, that's just having to make adjustments and cutbacks. That's the most painful thing that boards have to do. So if we can avoid doing that, you'll all appreciate it. Believe me, trust me on that. Okay. Any other lingering comments? Tammy, Linda, you want to chime in since you've helped work this out?
You know, I feel like I wanted to chime in, but Sherry just said everything that was needed to be said. One thing I did do that I do want you guys to know is I did run the numbers for the Humboldt, and 7 years out, our ending balance would be gone if we did this every year. So like you were saying, if we did the Oak, we would we'd be done in a few years. So That's just, that's why we don't want to go that route. Thank you, Sherry.
Thank you, Tammy. Linda? Any comments?
No, just that I think that we can sustain spruce for this year. Of course, our enrollment is going to be the turning point, you know, of whether we can keep offering this year after year, is we need to keep our enrollment up.
Good point. Very good point. Okay.
Hey, Jerry, Melissa, I think had a comment.
Oh, Melissa?
I think I have two questions. The first is, do you guys know, say everybody were to choose employee with family, like where that would get us, like, because that's a possibility, right? I mean, some employees probably don't have families, but as many as do. That would be my first question. And my second question is, are we concerned about the bill that that got voted on yesterday, AB 1316, if that does pass, when that will affect us, and if this decision is like, I don't know, if that would have any effect on this decision now?
Those are two very good questions, Melissa. So the first one, if everybody who is currently on insurance, so in Humboldt, that's 45 people, and in Siskiyou, it's 11 people. If all of those people decided to go on to employee with family, in Humboldt, that would cost 45 times 19,236, which is 865,620. So about $230,000 more than what it would cost if everybody stayed the same. And then in Siskiyou, if that happened, which you take that premium amount and times it by 11, it's 211,596, which is a little under 100,000 more than what we're predicting for if everybody stayed where they are right now. So those would be the costs. You know, it would remain to be seen if, you know, how that would affect it. You know, that would definitely put us below in Siskiyou, that would definitely put us below our 10% if everyone who's on it right now went to employee with family. And I could kind of go through the list mentally in my head of those 11 people. Oh, Tammy, of those 11 people, how many people actually have a family?
There's not very many. I could go through, there's like maybe, because a family costs the most. Kirk, you would be just you and spouse. So it's less, right?
Mm-hmm.
Can't hear
you. Yes.
My insurance is split between two schools too. So, but I do have a family, but I'm on Pine. You guys are going to save money on me anyway, because I'm already on Pine, and I want to stay on Pine. I like it.
Okay. So,
but yeah, I can think of one off the top of my head. A part-time person, you know, we're more likely to get some part-time people that want to, you know, be on it than people jumping up, you know, or adding a family sort of thing.
For the most part, anybody who had a family already, like almost all of them had their family covered already. It's not, it's more like if they had if they didn't choose it at all before, they were a part-time person and so didn't have to, now they may choose it. But the people who already currently had it, if they had a family, they had their family covered already. Just maybe, you know, for the most part, unless, you know, because you need insurance for your kids too. It's, you know, you were maybe choosing a lesser plan, one that didn't cover as much, but your family was still covered. And so we took that into consideration. Like we went through the list of each person by person, to see what they were currently signed up for. So it's more of just, I think, the people who are part-time that may now decide to get insurance. But again, keep in mind, we only paid the proportional amount to their part-time, not the full amount. So until that happens, we really won't know the true cost until after open enrollment happens. And then your second question about the AB 1316. You know, I have just learned through the years that you can't get too concerned about some of those things, or you can't start planning your life around some of those things until they actually come into fruition. And the reverse is true too. When you hear you're going to get all kinds of money from the state or something, until it actually hits the books, you know, you can't really count on it. But with AB 1316, there are so many variables. You know, it has such a long process still to go through. I mean, multiple steps. And each step along the way, it'll undergo, you know, changes. And then we can't even predict if Gavin Newsom ends up being recalled and a Republican governor comes in, the bill will be vetoed. It would never be signed into law. So it's very hard to predict what's going to happen with that. If it were passed exactly as it is right now, zero changes. To be honest with you, we'd have to close our doors. We wouldn't have a school anymore. So the decision we're making right now about funding the insurance for next year isn't really related, because if it happened as it is, we don't have a school anyway. And so we're not going to be deficit spending because there's not going to be any revenue even. So, you know, I feel like it is prudent still to make a decision like this with that unknown out there, because worst case scenario, we're closing our schools anyway. So whatever we vote right now isn't going to make any difference. Best case scenario, that assembly bill is never going to get signed into law. So the reality is it might be somewhere in between. I hope that answered your question.
Yes, I do have one more, if that's okay.
Okay.
So do you guys feel comfortable with if we choose this and then the numbers go up higher than we expected, more people go on higher plans, more people come in to it, and then we re-look at it next year and say maybe that wasn't such a great idea? Do you
Absolutely.
guys feel
I
good?
have every plan in the world. That's what I meant before when I was saying, like, we're going to have to look at this every year for a few years and till things kind of shake out. And we see where the employees fall, what happens with the premiums through our JPA on these new tiered rates. There's going to be
what our revenues are actually going to look like.
Right. And then, of course, what's going to happen when vision and dental comes into play. So we will definitely look at it. I mean, this is a 1 year kind of case by case kind of situation, probably for a few years.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Any further questions or comments? All right.
Just one last comment. I want to thank.
Okay, Jeff.
Just thank you guys, Tammy and Sherry and Linda. I mean, the work that you guys put into this thing, I just want to say thank you. I mean, it's mind-boggling, to be honest with you. You know, to jumble things and try to make the best of what's available. But you know, God bless you guys. Thank you for your hard work.
Thank you, Jeff. I just want to let you know too, it's mind-boggling working on it. So
yeah.
I can only say that numbers are not my strong suit, and I'm glad that we have people that are gifted in that area, because it's just not my deal, you know. But you know, man, I mean, you know, I like the fact that, you know, you know, everybody's gonna, or not maybe everybody, but most everybody's gonna benefit from this. And you know, to me, that's a positive, being an employer, you know, to try to make it the best you can for the employees. So, you know, I'm happy about that.
Thank you, Jeff. Okay, so is there a motion?
Julie has her hand up, Jerry, just so you know.
Does she? Okay, Julie, sorry, I see the hand. Julie.
I just wanted to thank you too, Sherry and Linda and Tammy, having been an employee at Mattoll Valley and now Northern United. This is huge. This is really, really huge. I mean, I remember back in the days when we didn't pay much, and then I've remembered the days like we all do where we've been paying through the nose. I think this is an amazing gift. And it will definitely encourage more people to be looking at our school. I do believe that as far as like employees. So thank you for your hard work.
Thank you, Julie. Any other comments? Any hands up that I'm missing? Okay. Up to my fellow
I'll make a motion.
colleagues. Is there a motion?
I make a motion to accept option 2, which is to cover spruce, which is to use the spruce plan as our employer contribution towards health benefits.
I'll second.
Is there, okay, it's been moved and seconded. Did you get that, Linda?
Who seconded?
Melissa?
Okay.
So it's been moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Bianca?
Aye.
Melissa?
Aye.
Rosemary?
Aye.
Jeff?
Hi.
And I also approve. Motion carries. Option 2, the spruce plan. Okay. Get back to my agenda. Item 5, reports. There are no reports. Item 6, discussion items. There are no discussion items. 7, the next board meeting. 7.1, possible agenda items for our next board meeting. Is there anything new that's come up to be added, Sherry?
I have a couple things. There's going to be a new policy or updating a current policy that we already have. That'll be on there. And then we have a whole slew of MOUs between Siskiyou County Office of Ed and Northern United Siskiyou Charter School. Foster youth transportation, just a variety, nursing, that kind of stuff. And then we're going to have 2 expanded learning opportunities grant plans, one for Humboldt and one for Siskiyou. And this is just an additional pot of money that schools are getting to expand their learning program because of any learning loss that may have resulted because of COVID and the shutdown. So that's something that we have been getting lots of feedback on and working on, and those plans will be brought to you next month because they have to be board adopted prior to June 1st.
Okay. Any board member have something that they like to see as a possibility? No?
Rosemary's hands up.
Rosemary. Oh, yes. Okay, Rosemary. Unmute.
You're muted.
Unmute.
There you go.
Okay. What about an update on facilities?
I can definitely give an update on facilities. We've had a few more things to update on, so that will definitely be on there. I've kind of just been putting that on every agenda.
Good. Good. Anything else? Any other hands? Nope. Rosemary, you can take your hand down.
I can't because I don't have the screen.
I'll do it.
Okay. Okay. So, thank you. So 7/2, the next board meeting date is May 13th, 4 p.m., same as usual. 8 is the open session before closed session. So I will verbally review the items to be discussed during closed session. And then 8.2, the public's invited to address the board regarding items that are on the closed session. Speakers limited to 3 minutes each. And again, the board is not allowed under the law to take action on matters that are not on the agenda. So the items that are going to be covered in closed session, public employee performance, title, the charter director. The second one, 832, conference with labor negotiator, unrepresented employee, the charter director. Are there any public comments? Linda?
I just wanted to say that we're really lucky to have our charter director, and that she works tirelessly and is consistent. She treats everybody really good. And I just want you guys to consider how fortunate and lucky we are to have someone like Sherry as our leader. And that was it.
Thank you, Linda. Julie?
Well, I'm not really a parrot, but I'm going to parrot you, Linda. I would agree that we are extraordinarily fortunate in having Sherry as our leader and our friend and our confidant, and having worked here for so many years. I was just sharing with somebody the other day that the last years of my career have been the best years of my life at this school. And in large part, that is because of Sherry. So I just feel very, very blessed to be working in an organization such as ours.
Thank you, Julie, and thank you, Rebecca. Rebecca says ditto to all the comments that have just been made. Kurt?
Sure, I'll add that the most competent leader I've ever worked for. Seriously.
You know, I've paid them all to say this.
No, she hasn't. And I'm going to tell you why she's great. She could tell you no with a smile on her face. And I think that's the best thing about a director, yes or no, with a smile on your face. And it's like, okay, no means no. She's great.
Thank you, Tammy. That pretty much exhausts all the people that are on. So, okay, so at this time, Linda, it's 4:45. We will adjourn and open into closed session. And so everybody except for Sherry and the board members have to leave, and we'll write down the times when we reconvene for you, Linda.
Thank you.
So that they can be put into the board minutes.
Jerry, before we get started.
Look at that. It just worked. How about that? You're muted, Jerry. Everybody got muted when they came back in.
Oh, my sound's
There we
turned
go.
down.
Yeah. Oh, and there's
Okay.
Kurt. Okay.
Now I can hear you.
All right. So hit the record button.
It is.
So Sherry for Linda's information. I'm reconvening into open session at 6:07 p.m. Item 9 on the agenda is reconvene into open session. 9.1, report of action taken during closed session. There is no action to be reported. And moving on to 10, adjournment. And at this time, it's 6:08. I'll adjourn this meeting. Thank you all.